If you come home to a house that feels overwhelming or cluttered, but you just can't seem to pinpoint why, here's 3 psychological reasons why your house might have tilted askew from peaceful haven to cluttered and overwhelming mess. Welcome back. Today we're diving into some core psychological reasons why your home might feel cluttered and overwhelming. It's good to keep in mind we're not judging or telling you to do anything that doesn't feel right for you or your household. We're just outlining some of the top common psychological reasons why, from our own experience and the experience of those we help, why homes can get overwhelmingly cluttered or exhausted with stuff thanks to some weird psychological factors. We hope that by understanding the reasoning behind the mind that results in and explains clutter and overwhelm build up in your own home, you'll be better equipped with the knowledge to spot these factors when they arise, and you and your home will start feeling lighter soon. First up, as psychological reason number 1, why your home might be feeling cluttered and overwhelming, it's likely you might have a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset. This one is a hard one to acknowledge, and I myself took longer than I'd like to come to the realization that I actually had fostered a scarcity mindset ever since childhood. A scarcity mindset, if you haven't heard of it before, is where you view things as limited, like they're going to run out or you're going to miss out if you don't buy or collect them right now. Actions like buying or collecting things are driven largely by an internalized fear and worry that you just don't and won't ever have enough, or that you'll miss out and the opportunity won't come around again. That you need to hold on to everything, even if you're not using it and it's just cluttering up your space, because you don't know when you might need it again and just can't seem to let it go. On the other hand, and on the flip side, an abundance mindset is where you believe there are plenty of things and resources and opportunities for everyone, and downsizing to keep just the things you actually love, need, or use now in this current phase of life doesn't fill you with a pang of dread. It's kind of like the glass half full mindset. With an abundance mindset, you see stuff for what it is and don't cling to things you don't actually use simply because you're worried you'll need it again soon, or perhaps even need to buy it again one day, even if that's years down the track.
Having an abundance mindset pushes you to see abundance and the wealth in your life. It highlights more options, more choices, more possibilities, and it's grounded in the idea that things, physical things and non-physical things, aren't either win or lose. If someone gets a thing, it's not coming at your loss. If you aren't using a thing right now and realistically know you won't use it in the next while, you feel secure in the knowledge that it will serve someone better right now if you simply donated it and let the thing go to a new home where it will be better used, instead of cluttering up and collecting dust in your own home. If you have an abundance mindset, someone buying a thing doesn't mean you are spurred to buy it too, just in case you miss out. This goes beyond the physical stuff too. With an abundance mindset, you see things as almost infinite, and things like someone else's success is not your loss. As you can see, there is a huge difference between the two mindsets, and a lot of the time they come into play when it comes to the question of holding on to clutter in our homes. We cling to things out of worry versus letting things go, and just keeping what actually serves us in the here and now. A scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset.
Stephen R. Covey initially coined these two terms in his 1989 best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I highly recommend reading if you haven't already. It's a fantastic, eye-opening read and probably one of the most influential books in terms of changing my own productivity and general life habits that I've ever read. Covey said that people with a scarcity mindset think there is only so much in the world to go around. A lot of the time, people who have experienced poverty or the extremes of the wealth divide, people who always had to go without as children, whether that was new shoes or clothing without holes, they see the world differently from others. And even when they move away from the surroundings or life of having barely the bare necessities met, even if they're in a stable job with enough money to buy new things, they might be stuck in that same mentality they've learned to grow up with, which leads to clinging on to everything, worrying about missing out, and sometimes seeing the glass as half empty, which leads to buying things in fear of missing out, which I'll add, marketing companies prey on this. And eventually this ends up cluttering up your space by never being able to really feel okay with letting anything go. It can feel like you're stuck, and it can be overwhelming, and feelings of guilt or shame when it comes to throwing anything out or even donating something you once spent good money on can be overwhelming.
None of this is to judge or say there's anything wrong with being frugal frugal and doing the absolute best you can with what you already have. Jess and I are frugal minimalists ourselves, but there's a difference. There's a big difference between having a scarcity mindset and having an abundance mindset. And it's only when we get to the heart of questioning and uncovering why we cling so tightly to things and can't seem to let them go that this stark difference in mindset shines through. So yes, when we're talking about the reasons your home feels overwhelming or cluttered, it's likely a result of this mindset difference. If you have a scarcity mindset, it's most likely your home is cluttered and you find it extremely difficult to let go of even the smallest things, because the little inner voice in your head chimes in and says things like, but what if we need it later? Even if you know realistically you've not used it in the past 5 years and most likely won't in the next 5. It's this scarcity mindset that creeps in and makes us hold on to things until our homes are piled up with stuff we hardly ever use. Hoarding things in our homes that we don't genuinely love, need, or use, which is clutter, is ultimately in line with having a mindset more aligned with scarcity rather than abundance.
When an abundance mindset is present, we're open and generous with others. We don't hoard onto things unnecessarily. You simplify things as much as possible and have the view of, why would I hold on to this now, as it's just collecting dust and someone else could get much better use out of it than I am right now. Shifting to an abundance mindset, which is a lot of inner work, I will say, and certainly not an easy thing, especially if there's factors like grief, trauma, or poverty involved, well, it does have a wonderful way of helping you to distill your things into the most cherished, your favorites of favorites. There's a lot to say and unpack when it comes to thinking about scarcity versus abundance mindsets and its connection to minimalism, or even just simplifying your house. And it's certainly an interesting topic we'd be happy to make future videos on, so let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see that. But yes, there's a very real key reason your home might be feeling overwhelming and overcluttered, and it's something to be aware of if you're after making real change in your home's level of unclutteredness and ease of tidying and managing day to day.
Abundance versus scarcity mindset. It's our first major psychological reason your house might be feeling overwhelming. Definitely check out the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People if you want to learn more. It's not at all a book on minimalism, but it has some great thought-provoking ways of looking at the power of mindset when it comes to living a simpler, happier, more fulfilling life. We've included a link below if you want to check it out. Next, the second psychological reason for your home feeling cluttered and overwhelming, you might be suffering from decision fatigue. Decision fatigue sucks. It's where you're burnt out from making too many decisions. There's too many options and possibilities and directions, and you're left just feeling tired and overwhelmed from needing to make decision after endless decision. It feels exhausting, and we've definitely been there.
The concept of decision fatigue was popularized by social psychologist Roy F. Baumeister and his colleagues in 2011, where they suggested that as people make more and more decisions, their ability to make thoughtful, well-considered choices diminishes throughout their day, leading to poorer decision making and even the avoidance of decisions altogether. Decision fatigue basically describes the mental exhaustion that comes as a result of having too many choices and needing to make too many decisions. Having decision fatigue makes even the simplest decisions feel overwhelming and like they're complicated, even if they're really not. If your home is feeling overwhelming and cluttered, it's most likely going hand in hand with decision fatigue. Constantly needing to decide what to keep, throw away, or organize and reorganize, and exhaust your mental energy, and has a way of making your home feel like a battleground of choices.
Needing to regularly decide over and over again something even as simple as what clothing combos to wear day after day compounds with all the other smaller decisions needed. When you have endless combos and lots of decisions, this can get exponentially tiring as the day wears on. It's a good idea to reflect on how you're feeling when it comes to your inner mental state and ability to make quick decisions effortlessly. Are easy, simple decisions difficult to make, or do you find yourself getting annoyed and needing to make even the smallest of choices? You might simply have too much to decide on.
When it comes to life and our homes feeling overwhelming, clothing is a big one that contributes to decision fatigue for a lot of people. It's typically the first real decision you need to make for the day, what to wear. If you feel stressed out and overwhelmed some mornings and find your bedroom covered in clothes tossed in every direction with a mad scramble of this morning's I have nothing to wear debacle still fresh in your mind, you're not alone. So many of us have endless clothing options and seemingly infinite outfit combos. Having too much Too many clothes can make getting dressed in the morning be time-consuming and decision-heavy start to the day. There's a very real reason why successful people like Steve Jobs and Barack Obama choose to wear the same thing day in and day out. It cuts down on a simple decision and compounds to alleviate decision fatigue from the get-go of the morning. So look to your wardrobe if you're feeling overwhelmed in the morning specifically. I found such a calm and ease to my day when I decluttered my own wardrobe down by 80%. It made getting dressed so much easier, and it was the jump start I needed to start bringing my level of decision fatigue down.
The antidote to decision fatigue is simplifying things. If things are feeling overwhelming or cluttered in your wardrobe or your home, try cutting down on the stuff, the repeated decisions, the clutter that always needs moving and dusting, and reorganizing when it gets messy and out of place. Reducing decision fatigue has a wonderful way of snowballing and making your home and life feel far less cluttered and overwhelming.
Our third and final psychological reason why your home might be feeling cluttered or overwhelming that we're talking about today, you might be on autopilot accumulation. This is where you just impulse buy things out of habit without really questioning or thinking about if you truly even really need or want the thing. During periods of high stress or anxiety, autopilot accumulation goes up as we want to quickly feel better. But buying things on autopilot is an expensive way to cope with stress, and life will always have periods of stress, sometimes stretching years. But spending excessive amounts of money for a quick hit of shopper's dopamine isn't a healthy long-term way of dealing with stress. The pure financial impact this can have on your future plans can be devastating and take years and years to build back if you leave your spending unchecked. So if you look around your home and feel overwhelmed by the stuff, it's likely you've accumulated things out of an autopilot response. We're actually marketed too strongly to do this, to impulse buy and just click the add to cart button as soon as something catches our attention.
It takes mindfulness and really homing in on why you want something that you'll start practicing against autopilot accumulation. So many of us accumulate on autopilot. I used to all the time, but it's a pretty solid way to hurl yourself into piles of debt and piles of stuff in your home. When you're not mindful of what you're buying, it's easy to fall prey to what is called clutter blindness, which is basically where your stuff fades into the background and you're not overly mindful of what things are even where. Purchases made so quickly with little to no thinking and reflection time can easily fade into cabinets and shelves, collecting dust and blurring into the background of your home. This visual stimulation has a very real impact on mental health, and we've mentioned a range of studies in both of our clutter stats videos about the negative impact even just being surrounded by clutter can have on your mental health. It can add to increased levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and it's easy to see why autopilot accumulation can quickly add to heightened levels of stress and anxiety.
Feelings of guilt and shame bubble to the surface when you do confront the reasons why you accumulated on autopilot in the first place, and the sheer amount of money you spent on impulse purchases that don't bring you joy mere hours after opening them. Many of us accumulate things on autopilot, and there's a very real consumer debt issue plaguing many of us, especially now in this cost of living crisis. So if you want to be less overwhelmed, break away from the thoughtlessness that goes hand in hand with mindlessly accumulating random clutter on autopilot. Autopilot accumulation of stuff doesn't ever help. It just fuels feelings of overwhelm and being surrounded by clutter, which is anything you don't actually love, need, or use in your own home, which should be your peaceful oasis of refuge, a place to unwind and recharge, and yes, be surrounded by your favorite of favorite things. Your home and your wallet will breathe a little easier the more thought and intention you put into your purchases. If you're feeling like your home is cluttered and overwhelming, it might be time to turn inward and really decipher if your last few purchases of non-essentials were perhaps made on autopilot, or if they were deliberate, thoughtful, and filled with intention. The latter, moving forward, will only make your home feel lighter, clearer, and more intentionally you than ever before.
So there we go, 3 core psychological reasons to perhaps explain why your home might be feeling cluttered or overwhelming. It's our hope that being mindful of the differences between things like a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset, and how it's completely possible to move from one to the other with deliberate training of the mind and simple everyday choices, can help you be better equipped with the knowledge to spot opportunities to perhaps shift your thought patterns or buying behavior when it suits you and your goals in life as they arise.
It's from first questioning why we do certain things, why our minds wander, to where they do, that we can start to question question if certain things in life serves us and our bigger ambitions in life. Things like finding ways to ease the burden of decision fatigue and being more aware of autopilot accumulation as core psychological factors that influence the actual level of clutter that builds up in your home is important. And we hope that today's conversation sparked a thought about how you and your home can perhaps start feeling a little lighter or less overwhelmed soon. Understanding is the first step, and decluttering your home is a very real, tangible way to simplify your everyday life. If you do need a little help with decluttering your home and want a supportive room-by-room guided workbook sent straight to your email, feel free to check out our beloved and best-selling Ultimate Decluttering Guide, linked in the description below.
We're wishing you all the very best of luck, and if things are feeling a little heavy right now, or things at home feel cluttered, messy, and overwhelming, just know that we're rooting for you. You've got this. Even just by being here and gathering inspiration for a simpler way forward, you're on the right path and are doing great. Things will get easier.
Good luck with your decluttering. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Got a lot of 80s hair on you. I think you got it.
I think I got it.